You know, guys, I think as South Africans, we need to accept and acknowledge that we don't have a president. Ramaphosa is not a president. This guy is just a bag of cement in a suit. This is how I would actually describe Ramaphosa. And if there's one thing that this guy has actually mastered is to piss off South Africans by simply uttering the words with his mouth. And if I was the advisor for this bag of cement in a suit, I would actually tell the president to stop talking, man. Just shut your mouth. Because every time you speak, people get upset. And it's not like South Africans are giving unwarranted hate towards the president. South Africans are just listening to what Ramaphosa is saying and they are baffled by the things that he says. Just like right now, South Africans are not happy about what Ramaphosa said during the Liberation Movement Summit, where he basically accused the South Africans of being xenophobic. So Ramaphosa is in the same room with Mnangagwa, a president of Zimbabwe that is responsible for the mess that is happening in Zimbabwe. We know right now, as we speak, that Zimbabweans are international orphans. These people are all over the world. And if there's one thing that Zimbabweans want, they want to go back in their own country and build their own country. But ZANU-PF has actually made things quite impossible for them. And now South Africans are actually suffering as the result of that because we don't have the borders in this country and we have millions and millions of Zimbabweans in this country. And the constitution of this country says that we, as the taxpayers of this country, we must take care of these people that are getting in this country illegally. So South Africans are paying for the health care of the illegal immigrants in this country. South Africans are paying for the security of these people. South Africans are paying for the shelter of these people. And if these people commit crimes, South Africans are feeding these people in jails. And right now, South Africans have been expressing their frustrations about these millions and millions of illegal immigrants that are in this country. So instead of Ramaphosa looking Mnangagwa in the eye and saying, Mnangagwa, you need to get your things in order in Zimbabwe so that South Africans can actually breathe. Instead of him doing that, because if this guy was actually a president of the country who loved this country and who actually cared about the needs of the people of this country, he would not be a coward. He would actually look Mnangagwa in the eye and tell Mnangagwa, you need to fix your things in Zimbabwe because right now South Africans are suffering as the result of your actions. But no, Ramaphosa has decided to call South Africans xenophobic. And I want us to listen to this small clip. And this just shows you how disingenuous these people are. Because on this clip, Ramaphosa is actually going to pretend like we as South Africans, we don't want migration. We don't want migration, and this is something that should be fought. And they need to speak out against xenophobic in all forms. Ramaphosa does not mention the fact that South Africans are complaining about illegal immigration, but he's talking about migration. Just listen to the disingenuousness that comes from this bag of cement in a suit.
One of the most dangerous narratives today is the weaponization of migration. We must reject xenophobia in all its forms.
Just listen to that. The weaponization of migration, we must reject xenophobia in all its forms. I mean, guys, if you look at South Africa, I would actually argue that it is the most diverse country in the world. Because if you look at South Africa, we have everybody living here. Everybody living here. So for the president of the country to actually stand there and pretend like we as South Africans, we don't want people who come outside of this country to live in this country, it's disingenuous. What South Africans are saying is that we don't want people to come into this country illegally. This is not what Ramaphosa is saying. Ramaphosa is pretending like South Africans do not want the people who come in this country, even legally so, because he's talking about migration. But South Africans are talking about illegal immigration. And when he says that they must reject xenophobia, people are clapping hands for him. The likes of Mnangagwa, they are clapping hands for him. Why? Because they are looking at Ramaphosa as a fool, as an idiot, to say, we are messing things up in our countries, and now you have this fool right here that is insulting his own citizens that are complaining about the mess that we caused for him. So, of course, they are going to clap hands for him. Of course, they are going to clap hands for him because they are looking at him and they are like, man, this guy is an idiot. Because if you think that Mnangagwa is going to allow what is happening in South Africa to happen in Zimbabwe, then you need to think again. Honestly, you need to think again. There is absolutely no way that Mnangagwa can allow what is happening in South Africa to happen in Zimbabwe. If you enter Zimbabwe illegally, you get arrested. This is what happens. Those people there, they know how to push for their laws. They know how to apply their laws. But in South Africa, you have a government that is inept. You have a government that is incompetent. You have a government that is dishonest. And now the same president of that government is telling South Africans that they are xenophobic. And the presidents of the countries that have been messed up, they are clapping hands for him because they see him as a useful idiot. This is why. This is why they are clapping hands for him. Can you just imagine, man? These people, they call them, they say that this is a summit for the liberation movement. You would think that these people would actually get in a room and actually confront each other to say that, guys, you need to fix your things there because now you are costing us. You need to fix your things there because now you are costing us. But no, instead of doing that, they are pointing fingers at South Africans. So right now, South Africans are the villains because South Africans are saying, we don't want to pay for the people that come outside of this country doing things illegal. We don't want to pay for that. We don't want to pay for that. We are scared of our safety. People are being abducted. People are being killed. And there's no justice for the families of the people that are being killed. Some of the illegal immigrants in this country, they are committing heinous crimes. And these people cannot even be charged. They cannot be arrested because nobody knows who these people are. But Ramaphosa sees no problem with that. He sees absolutely no problem with that. And now he's pretending like we have a problem with migration. How can South Africans have a problem with migration when we have the most diverse country in the world? It is impossible. It is impossible. And I find it quite insulting that the guy would stand there and talk about migration and talk about xenophobia in the same line. This is disingenuous at best. This is disingenuous at best. Man, like, this is a disaster, man. This is a disaster. Man, I couldn't believe my ears when I was listening to this. I couldn't believe that. This is a guy that is supposed to be the president of the country. This is the guy that is supposed to be the president of the country because me, as far as I'm concerned, Ramaphosa is not my president. I know people will say that, Thomas, it doesn't matter what you say. Ramaphosa, at the end of the day, he's your president. I don't acknowledge him as my president. He has actually done nothing for me to actually acknowledge him as my president. If anything, he has done everything for me to say that he's not my president. But how can he say this? How can he actually say this? How can he say this? And paint it as just a narrative. Oh no, this is just a narrative. A narrative. So are you telling me that a guy that is supposed to be the president of the country is fine with the fact that you, as the taxpayers, are paying for the health care of the people that are coming outside of this country? You are paying for their shelter. You are paying for their security. If these people commit crimes, you are also feeding these people in jail. Because I think it was last week when it was reported that half of the people that are in prison are illegal immigrants. And South Africans are feeding those people. Those people are eating every day. And you have children that are outside, that are going to bed without food. And you have these prisoners that are living comfortable, these prisoners that have insulted South Africans. Guys, you remember last year, there was that video of that a prisoner from Zimbabwe who was actually bragging about how nice things are in South African jails. Like, it is nice here. This is a paradise. This is a paradise. We have PlayStations here. We have plasma TVs. We have Wi-Fi. We have cell phones. Like, it is a paradise. And we are getting free food. Man, this is heaven on earth. This is heaven on earth. While you have South Africans outside that are sleeping without food, you are paying for that. You are paying for that. And when you are outraged about that, you are called xenophobic, even by the guy who's supposed to be the first citizen.
One of the most dangerous narratives today is the weaponization of migration. We must reject xenophobia in all its forms. Migration.
And again, guys, have you realized that it's only South Africans that are called xenophobic whenever they speak out about the issues of the illegal immigration? I mean, right now in Kenya, And there are videos that are going viral, man. In Kenya, where you see these Kenyans getting rid of the Nigerians in their country. They say that we don't want these people in our country because these people are selling drugs here. These people have opened the brothels. So the citizens there in Kenya, they have taken the matters in their own hands. So now they are out. They are destroying the businesses of these people. They are tearing down these supposed saloons that are selling drugs. And they say we don't want these people in their country. And nobody says that the Kenyans are xenophobic. Nobody says the Kenyans are xenophobic. When Africans, when black people are arrested in Zimbabwe for entering Zimbabwe illegally, nobody says that Zimbabwe is xenophobic. Nobody says that. When Duma Boko there in Botswana arrest people for getting in his country illegally, nobody says that Botswana is xenophobic. Nobody says that. But as soon as South Africans says a word, then they are condemned. They are condemned by their president. They are condemned by the mainstream media. They are condemned by the political parties. They are condemned as if they have actually murdered people. So this word xenophobia only applies to us. So don't think that when Ramaphosa says that we must reject xenophobia in all forms, he's talking about Africa entirely. He is not talking about Africa. He is talking about South Africa. He is talking about us, South Africans. You need to understand that. Because when other countries actually apply their laws, they are not called xenophobic. They are not. But it is only us. When we are simply begging these people to close their borders, when we are simply begging these people to get rid of these illegal immigrants that are all over the country, we are called xenophobic for that. But other countries, they are not called xenophobic for saying, we don't want Nigerians here. We don't want these people here. No, we don't want these Congolese. We don't want these people. Nobody is called xenophobic except South Africans. So now he's talking to us directly. You must not mistake this statement thinking that Ramaphosa is speaking in broader terms. No, he is not speaking in broader terms. He's speaking to us directly as South Africans, and he is calling us xenophobic. This is what he's doing. You need to understand that. You need to understand that. And the presidents that are clapping hands for him, they are clapping hands for him because they see a guy that is attacking his own citizens that are paying for the mess that they have caused.
One of the most dangerous narratives today is the weaponization of migration. We must reject xenophobia in all its forms. Migration itself must not be seen as a threat. It is a consequence of underdevelopment, war, global inequality, not a moral failing of those who move in search of hope.
And nobody actually said that migration it is a threat. Nobody said migration is a threat. But what people are saying is that illegal immigration it is a threat. Illegal immigration, it is a threat, not migration. If people actually respected South Africans, if some of these people that are in the country illegally actually respected the South Africans, they would get in this country legally, they would get their papers, and they would be contributing members of the society if they actually respected this country. But because they are getting in this country illegally, they are disrespecting this country. And of course, they are a threat. But I wouldn't expect someone like Ramaphosa to understand this, because Ramaphosa he's speaking from his Bible, he's speaking from his privilege. He is not an average South African. He does not have to deal with the mess that average South Africans are dealing with. But he still has the audacity to stand there and condemn South Africans for what they are experiencing themselves. Guys, it is so hard for me to go through this video, man, and it is only 1 minute. So let's try to get over this video one more time.
One of the most dangerous narratives today is the weaponization of migration. We must reject xenophobia in all its forms. Migration itself must not be seen as a threat. It is a consequence of underdevelopment, war, global inequality, not a moral failing of those who move in search of hope. As liberation movements, we must advocate for people-centered regional migration policies that affirm dignity, rights, and solidarity as well. We must never forget our freedom struggles were international in nature. Our freedom was achieved not only by the tireless struggles of our peoples, but by the efforts of people from across the world.
Man, I cannot believe that this guy, who is supposed to be the president of the country, actually impressed his friends at the expense of South Africans. Impressing your friends at the expense of South Africans. This is what he's doing. He's preserving his friendship with the likes of Mnangagwa at the expense of South Africans. So, guys, they don't see anything wrong. They don't see anything wrong. Unfortunately. So, guys, what are your thoughts, man? Please tell me what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button and the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.